What if the humble potato, a crop that has fed nations for centuries, is quietly holding you back? Imagine a field where the same acre that yields around $5,300 from potatoes could bring in more than $50,000. In this 25-minute journey, we'll explore crops so valuable they've been called red gold and green diamonds. But why haven't you heard of them? Could your patch of earth become a treasure chest? Stay with me, because the answer might change how you see farming forever. The potato has long been a symbol of security. In Ireland and the Andes, it sustained entire cultures. Today, it remains a staple of comfort food. Yet, in a market where commodity prices fluctuate and profit margins shrink, farmers and gardeners face a daunting question. Is growing potatoes enough? According to recent data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the average American acre of potatoes yields about 450 weight, 50-pound bags, and sells for roughly $11.70 per hundredweight. Do the EI math, and you see about $5,300 in revenue per acre. After costs, there's little left. Indigenous farmers in the Andes domesticated potatoes over 7,000 years ago and developed freeze-dry techniques to make chuño for storage. When Spanish explorers introduced the tuber to Europe in the 16th century, its hardiness fueled population booms. But dependence on a single variety proved catastrophic during the Irish potato famine, and climate change now threatens yields as pests. And diseases shift a reminder that even dependable staples are vulnerable. Now consider saffron, the world's most expensive spice. A single acre can bring in more than $50,000. Saffron is labor-intensive. It takes an hour to harvest 1 gram, but its price more than compensates. Similar stories exist for other niche crops. Ginseng roots fetch hundreds of dollars per pound. Wasabi commands premium prices, and microgreens, gourmet mushrooms, and medicinal herbs like Ashwagandha and Stevia deliver extraordinary returns. If these plants can yield 50 times the profit of potatoes, why are they not mainstream? The answer lies in history, risk, and the delicate balance between tradition and innovation. Our story dives into 7 crops that can transform a modest plot of land into a powerhouse of value. Imagine harvesting threads from tiny purple flowers, knowing each thread could be worth its weight in gold. Saffron comes from the stigmas of Crocus sativus flowers. Each flower offers just 3 threads, so it takes tens of thousands of blossoms to produce a single pound. In New Mexico trials, researchers found that saffron sells for about $30 per gram and can generate more than $50,000 of net revenue per acre. That's nearly 10 times the revenue of potatoes before expenses, and because the crop thrives in arid climates, it may fit well in regions with scarce water. But there's a catch. Harvesting saffron is painstakingly slow. Workers spend about an hour to gather a gram of dried stigma, meaning labor costs are high. Yet the high price per ounce makes the effort worthwhile. What if you could transform idle land into a saffron orchard? Imagine rows of purple blossoms shimmering in the autumn light. Cleopatra reputedly bathed in saffron water, while Persians dyed carpets with it and even used it as currency. Scarcity during the Black Death led to piracy and the Saffron War, underscoring the spice's legendary status and giving modern growers a cultural story to share with consumers. Have you ever considered that a flower smaller than your thumb could pay for a year of college tuition? Ginseng, patience that pays. Deep in shady forests across Appalachia, ginseng hunters protect secret patches of this prized root. Wild ginseng can fetch up to $800 per dry pound, and even cultivated roots sell for $200 per pound fresh. Each acre can yield about 300 pounds of fresh root. But ginseng takes time. Plants need 5 to 7 years to mature. This long wait turns away many farmers. However, patient growers are rewarded with substantial profits. because demand remains high for use in herbal medicine and supplements. Some farmers even export seeds for $150 to $200 per pound. The story of ginseng is one of hidden treasure that grows under dense canopies, requiring patience and protection from poachers. What if you planted a crop today that your grandchildren would harvest for a fortune? American ginseng was among North America's first export commodities in the 1700s, shipped to China, where it was treasured for its medicinal qualities. Overharvesting eventually threatened wild populations, leading to regulation under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES. Today, sustainable cultivation and certification are essential to protect wild stands and meet legal requirements. The long maturation of ginseng means growers invest in future decades, but the global market and the tradition stretching back centuries makes that investment worthwhile. Could the secret to a future fortune be buried beneath a few inches of forest soil right now? Wasabi. The green diamond. Most people know wasabi from sushi restaurants, but what you eat is often dyed horseradish. Genuine wasabi, grown from the plant Wasabia japonica, is notoriously difficult to cultivate. It prefers cool, shady stream beds and takes 18 months to 2 years to mature. Yet its rhizomes sell for $100 per pound in Japan and around $45 per pound in North America. Because authentic wasabi is rare, chefs pay premium prices, especially for fresh grated root. The challenge? It requires constant moisture, stable temperatures, and mineral-rich water. A slight change can ruin a crop. Farmers who master this environment, though, have essentially a boutique business with loyal clients. In the right microclimate, wasabi could turn a small greenhouse into a cash machine. Imagine whispering streams and carefully tended plants growing under ferns, each root green diamond awaiting a discerning chef. More than 95% of the wasabi served in restaurants is actually a mixture of horseradish, mustard flour, cornstarch, and green dye. Real wasabi must be grated fresh. Marketing this authenticity helps growers capture premium prices. What if your next greenhouse project could supply the world's top sushi chefs with the rarest condiment on earth? Microgreens, fast and furious returns. When you hear microgreens, think of tiny plants with a big punch. These tender seedlings of vegetables and herbs are harvested just days after germination. Because they grow fast and require little space, microgreens can be sold quickly. Some microgreens mixes can generate about $13 per square foot per month. Pea shoots bring around $10 per square foot, and broccoli and spicy mixes yield roughly $12 to $13. Farmers can cycle up to 25 crops per year. If you convert an acre of greenhouse into trays, the numbers become astonishing, far surpassing traditional field crops. The startup costs involve trays, lights, and climate control, but returns are swift and consistent. Restaurants, juice bars, and health enthusiasts crave microgreens for their vibrant flavors and nutritional content. Think of your spare room or unused barn turning into a microfarm that churns out profits every week. Microgreens may contain 4 to 40 times more vitamins and antioxidants than mature leaves, making them a sought-after functional food rich in antioxidant compounds. This nutritional halo fuels demand among chefs and health-conscious buyers. Nutrient studies help explain this reputation. A U.S. Department of Agriculture analysis of 25 microgreen varieties found that total vitamin C ranged between 20 and 147 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh seedlings and carotenoids, between 0.6 and 12.1 milligrams. On average, these microgreens had about 5 times more vitamins and carotenoids than mature plants, with red cabbage, cilantro, and amaranth topping the charts. What if the next booming crop fits entirely on a kitchen counter or a garage shelf? Gourmet mushrooms, fungi fortune. If you've seen oyster or shiitake mushrooms at a farmer's market, you know they command high prices. Specialty mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi are even more lucrative, selling for $10 to $20 per pound, fresh, and $15 to $50 per pound dried. Oyster mushrooms can produce 25 to 30 pounds per square foot annually. These fungi grow on pasteurized straw or logs in controlled environments, making them perfect for vertical farming. A small building can host thousands of bags of substrate, each producing multiple flushes of mushrooms. The challenge is maintaining proper humidity and hygiene to prevent contamination. Yet, with careful management, mushrooms are one of the few crops that yield in weeks rather than months. In fact, lion's mane tastes like seafood and is prized for its potential cognitive benefits. Gourmet mushroom farming is like alchemy transforming waste products into edible gold. These fungi also embody a circular approach to agriculture. They grow on waste, such as straw and sawdust, and the spent substrate can be reused as compost, animal feed, or even converted into packaging and biofuels. Did you know your basement could become a forest of mushrooms that could pay the mortgage? Ashwagandha and Stevia, healing and sweetness. Medicinal herbs are no longer niche. They're mainstream and lucrative. Ashwagandha, known as Indian ginseng, has been used for millennia in Ayurvedic medicine. Farmers in India report yields of 1,215 to 1,620 kilograms per acre and market prices of 1,200 to 1,500 rupees per kilogram. That translates into gross revenue of 15 to 24 lakh rupees per acre, with profits of at least 2 lakh rupees after expenses. Meanwhile, Stevia, a natural sweetener, offers high returns for smallholders. Farmers can harvest about 1,500 kilograms of dried leaves per acre, achieving net profits around 168,500 Nepalese rupees per acre, with a return on investment of roughly 406%. Stevia's demand rises as consumers reduce sugar intake, and the plant grows well in many climates. Ashwagandha thrives in arid soils and requires little water. Together, these plants represent how ancient medicinal crops have become modern profit engines. But like all herbs, they need proper drying, processing, and marketing to realize maximum value. Could a medicinal plant that our ancestors revered now pay for our retirement? As an adaptogen, ashwagandha may help the body resist stress and lower cortisol levels, fueling its popularity among wellness seekers. Stevia's steviol glycosides are 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar and don't raise blood glucose, making zero-calorie sweeteners attractive to consumers cutting back on sugar. Environmental assessments point to another advantage. 4 grams of Ra60 provide the sweetness of 1 kilogram of sugar, yet producing a kilogram of refined sugar requires around 1,782 liters of water for cane sugar and 920 liters for beet sugar. Ra60's global warming potential is just 5.7 to 10.2% of sugars with lower land use, suggesting stevia delivers sweetness with a far lighter footprint. What if a herb used by ancient healers could become the most profitable crop in your garden today? Specialty vegetables, the lure of freshness. Asparagus and exotic vegetables fill the menus of high-end restaurants? Michigan State University's economic analysis of asparagus shows net cash flows during peak yield years of about $1,422 per acre, a modest return compared to the others, but still above many staple crops. Meanwhile, almonds, blueberries, and blackberries fetch premium prices and require perennial investment. Although these may not produce 50 times profits on a per-acre basis, they highlight how specializing in niche vegetables or nuts can be more profitable than planting potatoes. For example, premium almond orchards can generate more than $5,000 per acre, and berry crops command high prices for fresh produce. When combined with direct-to-consumer sales and farm tourism, these crops weave profitability with lifestyle. The key is matching your soil and climate to the right specialty crop and cultivating relationships with buyers who appreciate quality. Reliance on potatoes carries risks. The Irish famine shows how monocultures can collapse, and climate change brings new pests and stresses. Perennial specialty crops may need less water and can improve soil health, offering resilience as well as profit. Could the next superfood on a celebrity chef's menu sprout from your backyard? By now, you may be envisioning colorful fields and greenhouses instead of uniform rows of potatoes. The turning point in our story comes when we realize that profitability is not merely about producing more, it's about producing smarter. The most profitable crops share 4 characteristics: rarity, high demand, significant labor or knowledge barriers, and efficient space utilization. Saffron is rare and laborious, but commands luxury prices. Ginseng requires patience and secrecy, yet sells for hundreds of dollars per pound. Wasabi demands precise conditions. Microgreens and mushrooms maximize vertical space and quick turnover. Ashwagandha and Stevia meet the modern craving for natural wellness. Even asparagus and berry crops rely on specific knowledge and marketing. Instead of chasing commodity markets that reward volume, these high-value crops reward skill. They encourage diversification and resilience. When potato prices fall, a saffron patch or microgreen room can keep you afloat. And you don't need to abandon potatoes completely. The turning point is the realization that a single farm can host multiple layers of profitability. Root crops for bulk, specialty crops for cash flow, and value-added products like teas, tinctures, or powdered spices. This is farming not as survival, but as artistry. The numbers speak clearly. Some of these crops can make 50 times more profit per area. But the real story is about unlocking choice and creativity for the next generation of growers. By embracing these crops, growers keep ancient knowledge alive, from freeze-drying potatoes into chuño to Cleopatra's saffron baths, connecting past and future and adding cultural meaning to profit. Diversifying into high-value crops is not a magic bullet, because each plant carries its own challenges: labor-intensive harvests, long maturation periods, specialized climate control or processing needs, theft, and market volatility. Regulations may restrict certain medicinal plants, and niche markets can quickly become crowded. Nevertheless, a backyard greenhouse or small plot can still generate meaningful income, and water-efficient herbs can offer more revenue per gallon than water-hungry staples. Success depends on matching ambition with careful planning. Training, cooperative marketing, and crop insurance help manage risk. Ultimately, these crops encourage a creative and sustainable departure from commodity agriculture, blending profit with ecological awareness. The agricultural landscape is dynamic. Crops that were once staples can fade when conditions change, while forgotten or exotic species rise to prominence. By staying curious and resilient, farmers and gardeners can help write the next chapter of this ever-evolving story. Let's return to where we began. The image of 2 fields side by side. One is lined with rows of potatoes. The other bursts with purple saffron flowers, shady ginseng beds, lush microgreens, cascading mushrooms, fragrant herbs, and seasonal asparagus. The first field offers security. The second represents possibility. You don't have to choose exclusively between them. The lesson of our journey is that by adding even a small high-value niche to your operation, you can multiply your income, hedge against volatility, and tap into markets that reward quality and uniqueness. We have seen that profit comes from rarity and careful cultivation rather than sheer volume. As you finish this video, you might wonder which crop calls to you. Perhaps saffron, ginseng, wasabi, microgreens, gourmet mushrooms, or healing herbs and specialty vegetables. Wherever your curiosity leads, remember this: the soil beneath your feet holds more potential than you ever imagined. The next harvest could be your most profitable and your most fulfilling if you dare to grow differently.